So I'm about to go into groups, not in this video, probably in the next video. And what I recommended last week was that if you're struggling with where do you go, like what do you do next after you got your file imported, even if it's a DWG or a picture. I'm currently on the 10th level, and that works out really well for me because I know that I can see everything from the import. Some things are weird, but at least I know where the sort of interior and exterior walls are. I'm going to go to architecture wall architectural, and I would recommend that if you do have this as a CAD file, either as a flat DWG or as a 3D DWG, then you can use the Pick Lines tool. Go ahead and change this to like a finish face exterior and make sure that your base constraint is whatever level you're working on, and then the top constraint is the next level. So you can see I have plenum levels, but I'm going to make this so not level 10 plenum. I'm going to make it the floor above that. And you can see that the unconnected height is 12'6", so just double check that, make sure that's all right. And now I can sort of go through and click these walls. You don't have to click all of the walls. It's actually probably better if you just click one wall on any face. And then remember that you're going to have structure at these grid lines, so you might have to adjust these later. But a good starting point is to say that, well, these are architectural walls and they're actually going to be on the exterior of the spaces that I've denoted. So that's why I've changed this to finish face interior, so I'm actually clicking the interior of the finish face on these grid lines. So that's all sort of outboard of what I have modeled. But you can see here that I'm just going through and clicking, sort of one of these per sort of long face. Again, if it's sort of hard to see what you're doing, make sure your thin lines are not necessarily on. So that's under View, Thin Lines, or TL is the hotkey. And then that will allow you to see the cut lines if you followed the last tutorial. If you're still having problems seeing, I recommend you go to your visibility graphics and then you go to your walls. So you click W. And we're going to just override the cut pattern here to solid and black. You can change this to red as well. And then if you hit apply, it becomes much easier to see what walls you have placed versus what walls are from coming in from Rhino. And so if you are tracing these things, that helps out. So I'm just going to sort of cut these things back. You can see that I don't have to be 100% precise with it. Again, I really like using the align command. So selecting the sort of outer lines, the inner lines, again the inner lines, the outer lines, and that goes here. So I'm just aligning all of my walls, and I think we're almost done here. Right, so now we have an exterior vision of what the building looks like for at least one floor. Let's just drag this out. Actually, I think this is a fire stair, so I need to align this. You do whole walls as well, but you can also delete it. And then you can use trim extend single element, or you can trim extend multiple elements. You can use a variety of tools here. Dragging, etc. So now that I know sort of the outline of my building, I'm going to go ahead and go to architecture wall architectural, and then I'm going to change this to core or wall center line, and I can do the same thing for my interior walls. What the wall center line will allow you to do that's not on the exterior is just choose sort of more generic placement for it, because you don't know exactly where that wall will end up in terms of this column. It actually might, the column might break it if it is just an interior sort of column, and these are just partition walls, so we can change it in the end. So again, you just have to try this out for one floor and see where you get. And your podium floors are obviously going to be a little bit different. So you might have to do each of those individually. And what you can choose as well is if you want to take modeling these on. So these are denoting where my sort of AHU rooms are for my residential units. The architect can do that, or the mechanical engineer can do that. Just be clear that you don't double model it, so that maybe, if you are working in a collaborative file, it really doesn't matter who does it because the walls will interact with each other. But yeah, that's just a tip for being able to start making this plan. We can go into a 3D view here, and then to remind you, WT is a really nice function. That's window tile, and so now I can see two things at once. And if I right click on one of those views, select all instances in the view, there you can see that little band that I've created. You can see some of them are not quite right, so if I want them all on that floor to be associated with level 11, then I would just select them all and then move them so that their top constraint is level 11. I can also Control C. If you click away, now I can go to Modify and Paste, and then I can align to selected levels, and then I can do like level 7 because that's where I know my residential begins. Now you probably don't want to do that all the way up. It's totally fine. You can actually, for your exterior walls, you could do these as large faces as well. But I'm going to show you in the next video how to group certain elements that if you do need to change one of the walls, it's going to associate for the rest of your